Hello, I'm Cara Dahl Russell, and we continue now in the third week of our After the News at Noon series, Courtly Love and the Cult of the Virgin. Today we'll be talking about Gawain and the Green Knight, priestly asceticism, and celibacy as an ideal. As we mentioned last week, there were many Arthurian tales developed over centuries, incorporating many folk tale elements which went back several centuries before. It was during the years of our focus between 1000 and 1200 that many of these tales became more fully formed and also reflected all the cultural elements that became chivalry and courtly love. Friday, we discussed the duality of female figures in these stories, almost a saint-like figure of distant, unrequited devotion, and a darker pagan image that distracted men from their duty and caused their downfall. It's not hard to imagine that duality present in relationships and marriages of the day. Gawain and the Green Knight is another example of an Arthurian tale that encompasses the idea of a knight's higher calling and requirements of devotion, honesty, truthfulness, and celibacy that equates the calling of a knight almost to that of clergy. It is worth mentioning that some of the overt symbolism within this particular tale is very much pagan. The story involves an annual event, the beheading of the Green Knight and his coming back a year later, much like a harvested field. It's easy to see the intermingling of pagan fertility and harvest stories mixed with a variety of legends. The Green Knight is thought by some to be the same as the Green Man, a folk representative of ancient woodland and plant spirits, a creature that appears in many world cultures. When we add the lustful temptations of his lady, we have shades of a fertility goddess. In some of these stories, too, this wife of the Green Knight is actually Morgan Le Fay. Sir Gawain is set a challenge to meet the Green Knight, stay in his home while resisting the advances of the wife. There are multiple other challenges, but in the majority of the versions of the story, the biggest challenge is remaining chaste amidst the advances of the wife. And when Gawain finally does submit to a kiss from the wife, he receives a minor punishment for that. In the context of our series, the important parts in the Gawain story are this development that now the knight is no longer a pillaging ruffian, but a person of nobility, a nobility of character. The knight is expected to think and act in a manner higher than the average because of his calling, and that his position reflects on the lord he represents. And yes, that is both his earthly lord and the heavenly lord. With the emphasis of celibacy in this tale, we see this image of the knight as being a spiritual calling equal to priesthood. When viewed through the social cultural lens of today, we can see an inherent irony. While courtly love is assumed to be heterosexual, if the goal is not consummation in either case, the devotion unto death to the Lord as leader of the knights and to the lady as keeper of the hearts looks pretty much the same, usually with very few rewards. And about 500 years later, the courtly fops of the French and English courts brought this celibacy into a new light of indeterminate sexuality. Because of our cultural lens, it is worth noting that there is no historical certainty that any of these chivalric stories had any direct relationship on daily behavior of the average person. What we can know is that these were strong social currents and a continual conversation in the courts, in the church, and throughout the culture as to what guidelines of behavior are to be desired. While the concept of noblesse oblige was not new, in some sense it is said to have been mentioned in the Iliad, these stories include a refining of the concept that nobility extends beyond mere entitlements, that it also has obligations. It requires the person with such status to fulfill social responsibilities, particularly in leadership roles, and that along with the privileges is a moral and ethical duty to take care of those who have less, and to lead lives of exemplary quality in thought, deed, and action. The tale of Gawain and the Green Knight really illuminates these ideas and ideals. It is often noted how this particular tale seems to demonstrate the pagan folk hero Green Man instructing, informing, and approving of the Christian values of Gawain.